We have taken a look at object.create and how it works. Now let's apply it to our factory function. So here in our factory function, we have included the reserve method right here directly on the object. In most cases, you want methods on the prototype so that they can be inherited. And that is what we are going to do here. So first, let's go ahead and set up our object that will be the prototype object. I'm going to do that up here. I'm going to just call it obj proto. And then here's our object. And what we want to put in there is our reserve method. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that from down here. And we'll place it right up here like that. All right, so there is our reserve method. Here is our prototype object. Now we can go ahead and include that down here inside of our factory function. And we're going to include it using object.create. So let me do that line first. I'm going to create a new object here. I'm going to set it equal to object.create and then pass in obj proto. So we're passing in the prototype object. We're going to create a blank object that has the prototype object attached to it. Then we can go ahead and set these properties onto that blank object. So right now, let me comment out this portion here. And I'm going to do this two ways. First way I'm going to do it is just with dot syntax. So I'm going to show that first. So we take the obj dot name and we set that equal to name. And then obj dot capacity, and we're going to set that equal to capacity. Like that. And then we got to set these other two properties, available and schedule. So obj dot available, set that equal to true, and then obj dot schedule, and that's just going to be an empty array like that. Now the last thing we need to do, since a factory function returns an object, we need to return what we've set up here. So return obj. Okay, so we have modified our factory function so that we're now going to include a prototype. And the one thing we have on a prototype right now is one method, reserve, the reserve method we're using. And so let's see if we can go ahead and make use of that. So down here for boardroom, I'm going to use that particular object. Let's take a look and see if we can use the reserve method. So reserve, and we need to pass in two pieces of information. We need to pass in basically a date object and then a length. So that's what we'll do here. So we'll do new date. We'll just use today's date just to test this out, and a length of 60 for 60 minutes. So that should go ahead and add that. So when we look at the boardroom object, we should see something in the schedule array, because that's basically what our reserve method is doing. All right, let's save that. We've got it running out here. So I'm going to jump to the console. Whoops, we got syntax there. I'm not sure why I have a period there. Typo, obviously. Save that again, and let's try one more time. All right, so we want to look at boardroom and see what we've got on that object. So if I open that up, and we can see schedule has something in it, and we open that up, we can see there's a date object and a length of 60. So we're getting that information in there correctly. And we have our prototype attached. If we take a look at the prototype, we see the reserve method in there. And so we're now using inheritance as a part of our object created using our factory function. Now I mentioned there's a couple ways to do this, and I want to show the other way. This involves a lot of typing, and so that's why I just want to show this other way. I want to use object.assign. So let me comment out what we have here. Obviously, I'm still going to be using the prototype object up here. I want to create that. But now what I'm going to do is down here, let me uncomment this, and I'm going to use right here object.assign. What object.assign does is copy the enumerable owned properties. So when we say enumerable, we mean properties that can be enumerated, such as with a for in loop. So the enumerable owned properties are copied from one object to another. So if the properties we want to copy over are all enumerable, which these will be because I just set up this blank object, then we're good. So I want to copy to OBJ, that's the target. And what do I want to copy from? Well, this object right here. Come down here and let me end that with parentheses. So we're copying to OBJ everything inside of this object. Okay, so this is another way to do it using object.assign. So let me save that, and we're going to take a look at the boardroom again, and we should see the same thing. If we go into the schedule, there we go. It's all set up. So now we've added prototypes to our factory function. So now factory functions become much more powerful because we're able to use prototypes. Now also notice an advantage here. I want to point out this advantage that you have with factory functions. Because the prototype is out here, it's possible we could set up more than one prototype object. Then based upon some criteria, we could use a different prototype object. It gives us a little more flexibility with the prototype object, and that can be a reason why some people use a factory function for creating their objects. It's also possible inside of this function here to use closure, and that can be a powerful thing for factory functions as well. All right, time to move on to a different pattern. So let's go on to the next topic.